Running Sentences presents Dark Convent Kingdom Part 2. More ceremonies. Brick and Sylvia have a lot of ceremonies and trials to go through. He already knew that this probably wasn't worth the effort, but to keep his head. And now things are just getting weird for them. This story is written and narrated by Michael Horry. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional ones is purely coincidental. Copyright 2026, Michael Horry, all rights reserved. The message that Jules had delivered was not a welcomed one. Marriage and a child with a woman he barely knew. Yes, she was attractive, and cut quite the figure, but she probably didn't like him. And that was a deal killer, since he wanted to be liked if he was going to marry a person and have a child with them. Not that they really had a choice in the matter, so maybe all this was moot. Are you too stunned too much to continue on with our lessons? We can go on to the next session if you don't have any questions. The prayers, teacher? Yes. That one. It will be the first one where you sit in chairs and are chanted at. Well, so I'm told, Jules, the teacher, said. You don't know? Sylvia asked. They tell me things. Our great leaders of this country tell me things, but I highly doubt that the royals of this kingdom want to tell me everything about this process, so I can only tell you what I know, Miss Sylvia. Which isn't much, and probably bodes badly for both of us. I don't want to get married at Chantidat or have a child, at least not yet. Am I not good enough for any of that, Brick? He looked over, surprised that the Princess Sylvia had taken offense to his words. Brick hadn't meant them that way, and he was sure that she would agree with him, since he wasn't really anything special to look at or really be around. You want to be Chantidat? Not that part, stupid. But that's the important part, he said, confused. No, it isn't, Sylvia complained. If you two are done, we will move on to the next part of all of this, their teacher said. Yes, fine. Lead the way to our doom. Not your doom, Sylvia. Your rebirth into taking over this world, or something like that. And isn't that what every young leader wants? To have a chance to prove that their way is the best way to lead in this world? There was a long pause as Sylvia glared at their teacher, but said nothing to her. Eventually she stood up and waved her hand. I think that's the sign for us to get on to the next place, next session, whatever it is. Sylvia, red with rage or something, frustration maybe, merely nodded yes, and their new teacher, Jules, swept them out of the room. They were taken from this library space through another hallway, which was hard to tell if it was a new one or the same one as before or anything different, and into a new room. This chamber was set out as a sort of royal chamber or theater-like space, set in a semicircle. At the back wall there were two throne-like chairs that they were escorted to and then left there. The room was empty aside from them, as Jules had promptly left without telling them anything else. Okay, so this is weird and I'm sure we don't have much time to talk to one another, but what exactly are your plans now? I'm still trying to get over what you said and what Jules said. What about what I said was wrong? From before in the library, I'm guessing? She gave him a glare, which said something, but in a worrying state, he wasn't sure exactly what it was supposed to mean. You said you didn't want to be with me. That will hurt a young woman's feelings, you know. Well, I only said that because you don't seem like the type of person who would want to be with me. I don't want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with me. Haven't we already been over this? He said, rather confused. I wanted you to know that I don't like... She started to say and then stopped herself. I wanted you to know that I don't like the way you're treating me or talking to me. I'm sorry then, Miss Sylvia. It is not my intention to make you feel uncomfortable. But we have bigger problems to deal with, though, if you don't mind dealing with those. We can't really talk about that stuff, though, can we? Because we don't know who might be listening? He asked. Exactly. You need to make amends for your words, otherwise the king and queen will also think that you and I are on the outs, and it will backfire on us, I think. That thought hit him hard. It was not something he had thought about, nor was it something he felt he should have thought about. Things were simple, and all they needed to do was come up with an escape plan. But yeah, the royals probably were listening to everything. They did, though, through some means. There was no one else around, though, so he sort of started to look about, and didn't really spot anyone. Will you stop looking around like you're looking for people? She growled at him. Oh, please, I can't tell if I'm looking for someone or not. Besides, I'm just taking in the room and looking for the people who mean to start this next phase of whatever's going on. Well, they're probably listening to us, so they won't believe that lie. Maybe they won't, Sylvia, but they also seem eager to get this whole process done with. Sylvia seemed stuck on that thought as she'd fallen quiet, so I glanced over to her to see her shaking her head. They'll force us through now that we've begun. It's simpler and easier just to get the whole thing done. Why else would we be going through a bunch of these at once? He asked her. And that's why they want the kid. They can raise it and get rid of us, no problem, if they have us just rush through. Yes, but you said earlier, don't say too much out loud. She shot him another look. I was about to say something more, but a hum began to fill the room. This was followed by doors clattering open and black and brown robed figures with hoods up covering their heads marching in. They were also looking down and sort of humming as they walked in. Great, so this part of our session has begun, Sylvia said. We have some time to think things through, though, because this is pretty big room for a bunch of people to fill into. Not the marriage part, though. That's happening next, maybe? She said with a shrug. Right, that part we'll have to figure out, but I think we're stuck with it for now. We'll just claim it was done under duress or something like that, and, people will nullify it or something? I don't know, he replied. She looked over him as she went towards her throne seat. There was a rather sharp yet surprising look on her face. It felt like it was aimed at him, but he couldn't figure out why. That's a rather smart thing to say and think. Yeah, I picked up a thing or two from living. People like to talk to people who they don't think are smart. Where exactly did you learn that, though? The sudden question made him flinch, since his past wasn't really all that great, and the less people knew about that, the better off they would probably be. Oh, look, I think the room is just about filled up, and there is a person coming down the main aisle. We should probably pay attention again, Brick said. Sylvia was shaking her head, but turned to look over. Sure enough, there was a man in a long white, black, and brown robe that trailed behind him towards him. His hood was down, and it helped that he wasn't actually wearing one of the other hoods, and looked rather disappointed in them. A scarred-up, bearded man. In a hurry, Brick looked over to where his seat was, and then hopped into it. I see your two new royals have come to take their vows. We were told that this was a prayer session, Sylvia replied. This new person nodded at them gravely. That it is. But what are you saying about vows, mister? Brooke asked, quite concerned. The vows to your new king and queen. What do you think I meant? The ones for our marriage? Sylvia said. There was a snarl of a bark of laughter that came from this man. It was quickly choked off with a grimace as this man then waved his hand dismissively. though this also brought forth 2 robed assistants, who stopped short and gave a great bow to this man now standing in front of them. I, Lord Just, would never sully my name with doing such menial tasks. That is a job for someone else. How do you not know any of this? Well, our teacher only had time for so much, and we were being rushed, so... Yeah, what my fiancé said. Those words were a shock to Brick. I never really thought he'd hear those types of words, especially from a beautiful young woman. His mind sort of stopped working and then really short-circuited as she grabbed and held onto his hands, since their chairs were next to one another. Please, you two are plotting and planning things, and I'm hoping you will try it out, just so that I can be the one to kill you. The king and queen will not allow such things, Lord Jest. You would wind up dead as well, Sylvia responded. The cost might be worth it to get rid of you two, or maybe that one. Lord Jest pointed his finger towards Brooke, who found his mind now coming back down from whatever excited rush of happiness that had taken over. There was something nice, though maybe not real, about having Sylvia say those things to him. But as he was thinking this, he was hearing the words from the royal, and his mind had a thought. One thing that was out of his mouth before he could do much thinking over it. You want it to be you in this role that I'm occupying? Oh, look, it is a young Mr. Brick who can put 2 and 2 together. You do realize that the king and queen will kill anyone who gives them an heir, right? That's what all of this is about, Brick said. Yes, exactly. We are being lined up for death once we copulate. It won't be a pretty death either, probably. The words added from Sylvia made the man look over to them suspiciously. He then shook his head and turned to his assistants, who were still standing there beside them, still bowing as well. Will you two stop bowing? It won't help get this done with, Jest ordered. But, sir, if we don't follow the rules, then this whole process might fall apart. It will not, idiot. Start the lanterns so that this thing can get moving. The 2 robed assistants turned and hurried to the edge of the stage area. This was a small stage area with 2 thrones, chairs on it, and just such a small space. And then there were the rows and rows of seats beyond held the chanting people. Plus there was another balcony and another floor of seats above that. What is even going on? Brick asked, hoping for some clarification. Your ceremony, Mr. Brick, your prayers, Mr. Brick, that brings you officially into the fold of the kingdom, your vows to the king and queen, making them your rulers, or at least the first part of it, Lord Jest said. I thought that happened when we met them before. Lord Jest threw a glance over her shoulder, the broad, annoying smirk that came with the look. That was the vetting process, Miss Princess Sylvia, one which you got by on the merest nods from our beloved king and queen. If they're so beloved, why haven't any of the people volunteered to be where we are? The princess asked. Oh, they have. They have not been found worthy of the task at hand. Plus, as Queen Mitra dictates, it would be uncouth to use the people. They have such value, and this task is for those below us. And yet you still want us to do it? Sylvia asked. Yes, it is a task, Princess Sylvia, that needs someone like me to finish you off. Brick shared a look with Sylvia, who was shaking her head and leaned over to whisper to him, trying not to be heard. I know too many like him, all important and doesn't care what others want or think. He's only thinking of himself. What are you telling me? Why are you telling me? We can use him if we figure him out. You do want to get out of this, right? Well, yeah, but he's going to grab you and do whatever he wants. It's a trap to think that we can do anything that will bring him to our side, Brick replied. We can still try, though, Sylvia insisted. I doubt he's the type to be a traitor. He is exactly the type to do that, though. You don't know royals well enough to judge them. Brick really wanted to say and whisper something back at that, but this lord just was glancing back towards them. Are you two rats done whispering? What are you even whispering about? We have to move on with things. No, we are not done, and the longer that you delay, Mr. Jest, the better off it might be for you. The bartering and trading system to get me to do what you want. That sort of thing won't work. That isn't... Sylvia started to respond. The sudden click of metal around their wrists and ankles from the assistants brought from before worked to secure them to the chairs that they sat on and cut off Sylvia's words. Told you, Brooke whispered over to her. Not helpful, Brooke. Listen to me, Lord Jest. To get what you want, you need us, but simply going through with all of this will ruin your chances of becoming the one that King Aulus and Queen Mitra want. Do you want that? I don't think you want to throw away a chance that you've worked so hard for. I can take whatever I want, Missy. I don't need you or the useless one next to you. Lord Jess said this over his shoulder and then turned to concentrate on the crowded room before him. Ladies and gentlemen, we have before us a chance to right the wrongs that have befallen our beautiful country. But to do this, we need to tie these two to our king and queen. You know what must be done, as this is your only purpose. A low murmur of a chant began running through the crowd. Rick watched as the lights flickered about the place, as if they were responding to the voices. Sylvia, are the lights... Do you not know about magic, Brick? Wisps of a blue-white smoke became visible, snaking around the room, touching those lights and the chandeliers, and then gathering into a ball not far from the walls. My life was complicated. I never really got to learn much about certain things, he replied. What do you even mean? She asked. Things in my life were complicated, and I had to keep moving thanks to things happening. So no one ever bothered to show me much magic. Besides, as a commoner, we don't have to deal with it as much, since we're, worried about more living than dealing with whatever. We really need to have a long chat about your history, because from the sound of it, your claims of being a commoner don't exactly ring true. What? How? Brick complained a little loudly. No commoner, unless they live in a big city, was moving about. Your story doesn't add up, and why would they choose a commoner for this event? Are you two done talking again? We must have silence to complete this ritual. Lord Jest grumbled. What does this ritual even do? Mr. Brick, I told you it ties you to the leaders forever and ever. It will not allow you to disobey them. Good luck with whatever plans you have. They will not work. The smoky wisps that had gathered around the place, some of it into balls, other bits just floating in the air waiting for directions to be ordered to go to, sat there waiting. Brick watched for a moment, trying to decide if these cuffs were going to hold or not. They were quite creaky and sort of rusted from what he could see. He'd escaped similar situations before, but that didn't mean that these would go the same way. Are your cuffs really tight or really loose? He whispered this over to Sylvia, but she glanced over at him in surprise and wiggled a bit. Nothing appeared to be moved on her end. Are they loose on your end? You're not running away and leaving me here, by the way, she whispered over to him. Well, I think I could make them move, and then this process would not be completed. If you manage to get out of that chair, then these fools will likely try and put all of the magic into me, or Lord Jest in front of us, merely takes your spot and things are completed. No running away, she insisted. So we sit here and take slugs of magic being thrown at us? I thought you said you didn't know anything about magic. He winced at having to remind himself he was not supposed to know certain things, though life was rather complicated at the moment, so slipping up should be expected, though on important matters he really promised to pay more attention to what he was saying. That's just sort of how I imagine these sorts of things go. You're a terrible liar, and you have a lot of explaining to do, Sylvia growled at him. I somehow doubt I will ever get the chance to explain anything, because we're in danger, he shot back. Bolts of this smoky magic shot out from where they were gathered, all around this room. The direction went all over the place instead of aimed towards them. A few strands did make their way, slamming into Brick's kneecap, causing a burning pain to sprout up. It was a dull, angry throb that kept shooting off bolts of pain up and down his leg. Another struck his shoulder, sending even more pain, though through his chest. Concentrate, ladies and gentlemen. You do not want this magic killing us. If it kills these two on the chair, then so be it. But we are not the target of this spell. This is torture, the princess called out. Oh, I care not what it is to you, Miss Sylvia, but you must accept the boon and the connection of your new king and queen. There's an option, it sounds like, in there, that we reject all of this? Yes, Mr. Brooks, the other option is dying, here and now. That is not an option, Brick replied. It is, in fact, one. You don't have to like it, accept it, or, well, whatever else you want to say about it, but it is there for you to take. No one here is dying, Princess Sylvia declared. The wisps of magic had now begun floating and encircling the two of them as they sat in these thrown chairs. White filled the air before Brick, who felt the pain and began to subside, so he could take in the spectacle in front of him. All around them looked like a dome of white. Magic does this sort of thing? Brick asked, directing his question to Sylvia. No, not at least not that I'm aware of. We're in so much shit, aren't we? Not responding to the comment, Brick looked over quickly towards the princess, who had a pained expression on her face. Lots of tendrils of magic were coming from this dome, hitting her right in the chest. Sitting still didn't seem like a good option anymore, so he frowned and struggled against his bonds. They were actually, in fact, loose, but not too loose, and his mind reminded him that those two assistants were probably still around somewhere. Still, but he had to do something, so Brick twisted as best he could to see if they were behind him and Sylvia. They made no appearance, and in his struggle one of the wristbands holding his right arm down snapped open, and he quickly turned his attention to the other band holding him. Are you okay, Sylvia? It hurts. Why, only me? I'm probably not good enough for them. Sorry, give me a second, I'll try and get you free. A whisper of a voice lilted through the dome, causing Brick to look up in surprise to try and find it. Do you wish to save her? The voice was not one that Brick was familiar with, and he looked about as best as he could. It was a white dome of space, with only him and Sylvia in there. His ankles and one wrist were still locked to the chair, so it wasn't really all that great of an idea to twist about, as it made him feel like he was wrenching his legs and arm out of a socket. Ow, fuck, ow, who is there? He called out while fighting his bonds. Who are you talking to, Brick? Sylvia asked. I don't know, I heard a voice. I can't see anyone else though, Sylvia. Your job, Mr. Brick, will fail unless you help her, this sickly sweet voice called out. How would I do that? How do I help? And how do you know about me? Oh, I am the soul and heartbeat of the veins of magic running through this world. If I didn't know things, the world would have ended much sooner. But unless you step up, then your new friend will wind up mostly dead. Can't you control magic? Are you magic? You sound like you're magic, so you should be able to. Not control, no, Mr. Brick. Its essence, yes. In the things most people feel when it comes to sixth sense, so to speak.
This voice whispered.
What? How can you help then? I cannot. You can. You're the one with the ability to take your suffering. There isn't much time, though. I'm tied up, whoever you are. To show this, he lifted his wrist that was still locked down, only to find it free. I do have some influence in the world, but if you don't hurry... I know bad things happen, but bad things always seem to happen around me. Brick grumbled the words mostly to himself as he got up, finding his legs were also free, and he got out of his chair to move over towards Sylvia. There was a silent cry or scream coming from her mouth, only a sort of squeaking noise coming out. Her pained expression made his heart ache. The sight hurt to look at. There wasn't really anything he could think of to do to save her, though, other than maybe stepping in front of these tendrils. But that felt like it wouldn't do anything. Still, it was the only thing he could think of, so in front of her he stepped. Let go of any thoughts or any ideas or ideals that you had. Let go,
the voice insisted,
as a stinging sensation erupted across his body. His chest, legs, arms, and head all felt like they had a burning feeling that kept coming and coming. Rick swallowed hard, trying to fight through it, as he opened his eyes to look around, but all he could see was whiteness. The pain faded abruptly as it had come, though all he could see was white all around him still. He did spin about completely, but it's just himself alone in here, wherever he was. He wasn't sure where he was, but it didn't feel like the same space he'd been in with Sylvia. The clicking of sharp steps approached from behind made him swell to see that a woman, clad in a white dress with long flowing white hair, come up to him. Everything about her felt weird. Where am I? Well, that is an interesting first question. Care that much about Miss Sylvia? Don't answer. I already know what you'll say. This place is the in-between. What?
He asked, confused.
My realm, as I am the essence of magic, as I explained to you. I live between life and death. That is where we currently are, so that you can take the attack of magic against you and Sylvia. So, Lord Jess was trying to kill us. Yes, from the look of things. That spell was powerful call down, and not the one that ties people to other people. Though it may have worked to tie the undead to people. Not entirely sure about the other way, though. Not really sure about that. New magic and all that. You don't know how a magic spell might work. People come up with new ways of using and applying magic essence all the time. It's hard to keep up with all of it, but I do my best. He had to shake his head, trying to clear it and figure out what was going on. It felt like he was going crazy, which surely he was, since what else would explain all of this? How does any of this help save Sylvia? And am I sort of chosen one to save the day? 'Cause that ain't a me thing at all. You'll have to pick someone else to do that sort of thing. And I mean, I should be dead, right? Taking all that magic? Trust in knowing that I know what I'm doing, Mr. Brick. You will have a greater chance of helping everyone if you let that happen. Okay, what do I need to do? You're standing in the way. You protecting her will help save the world. So I'm not really important in all of this. That's what you're saying? That's just the way you're making it sound? Important enough to be in the right place at the right time. But you're right. Sylvia is more important to the world than you are. Brick found himself growling in frustration at that sort of news. It did not make him want to take part in all of this, but it was also his job. And, well, someone innocent dying would probably feel really bad on his conscience should he survive. keeping the growl growing in his frustration. He stepped forward as he saw the tendrils of magic echoing about this room in a sort of echo space. As he stepped towards them, they once again switched to hitting him, striking him hard. A flash of white took away his vision again. When things came back into view, Brick blinked and breathed a few heavy breaths. He wasn't sure he could trust what was in front of him, as was actually in front of him. The chamber, the sort of staged prayer room with the semicircle seating in front of the stage, had two chairs there. Everyone else, including Lord Just, actually appeared to be gone. Brick's entire body felt like it was still on fire, and he didn't want to move. But he forced his head to turn and see if that Sylvia was still in her chair. She was, unconscious though. "Sylvia?" She didn't respond, and he forced himself to move, though the pain was really harsh as he turned around. Kneeling, he moved towards her and felt for her pulse and was glad that it was still there. But it felt weak. He then lightly tapped and slapped at her cheek, trying to get her to wake up. Stop it. What are you doing?" "Can't stop. Lots of things have happened, and we have a chance to escape. We have to take it." "What are you talking about?"
she asked. No time to explain, Sylvia. You either realize what is going on as I'm getting you free, or I can explain to you maybe a little later."
"Why would I go with you?"
she asked.
"Because you're in danger and I can get you to safety." Having gotten the locks around her wrists and ankles undone, he pulled her to her feet and really looked at her for a moment. "I don't think I want that,"
she said.
"Okay, sorry to hear that, but you're coming with me." With a quick move, he leaned over, placing his shoulder against her waist, and hoisted her up as he stood up. Then, realizing that he had to do something more, Brick took a quick look around the place. Spotting a door with which the many monks had come through, I suppose that was the way they'd headed out for all of this, if they'd survived, or whatever had happened here. Coming out into that hallway with a rich red carpet and lined with a similar fabric that adorned the walls, he came to a stop, pausing and looking over this space. The walls were all well lit with torches dotted along them, and a clear view of a very long space. It seriously went a long way in both directions. He was distracted, though, as fists kept slamming into his back. "Put me down. I will not have you kidnap me. I do not deserve such treatment, and you are a villain, a vagabond, and something else that I can't think of at the moment."
The princess yelled at him.
"No, I don't think I will let you down. I'm only sort of kidnapping you, as we've already been taken by the king and the queen of the Convent kingdom, or whatever this place is called. I'm trying to help you, and also figure things out." Fitz paused for a moment, and then picked back up. "Why should I even believe that?" "Because our lives depend on me getting you out of here? Or would you rather die here and be married off?" "I think married is a much better idea." Rick had to take a second to think about what she'd said. It wasn't right, and it sounded like she wasn't herself. "Do you not remember anything from what has happened over the past several hours? Is it a day now? I don't even know. It's been a lot, and time has gone by way too quickly. But I wasn't aware that magic attacking you could make you lose yourself." Sylvia's half-hearted attacks came to a stop again. "What do you mean, magic attack? Was I attacked?" "You were being connected to this kingdom, subject to the king and queen, or so Lord just said. Man fucking vanished on us, and, well, I think he was actually trying to kill us." "But I don't care about any of this. It had nothing to do with me. Please put me down and let me go." "No, in order to protect you and complete my job, I can't do that. I guess we're gonna go to the right, though." He began hurrying that way as best he could, on the lookout for anything unusual, as the knocks on his back from her fist came back. His journey took quite a while, in part because the complaints from Sylvia never ended, along with the beating of her fist.
That, and because lugging around a person on one's shoulder,
not exactly easy, even for the most strong of people, which Rick did not consider himself to be a part of. They wound up in a grand entranceway, coming from the side door on the first floor. The opposite wall had another door leading further in, he assumed, so the right was and to his right was a sweeping staircase that led upwards. And finally, to the left, a big-ass door. No one else was around this richly dark red-black room, so he finally decided to put Sylvia down. "We can escape through that door," he said, pointing to the left. "Why would I go anywhere with you?" "You want to live and see your family again, right? I can make that happen. Right now, I don't think they know where you are." She paused for a moment, swallowing and thinking about that. "You said something about a convent kingdom?" "Yeah, I think we're in the castle of that kingdom. I'm here to help you get out. Fighting me accomplishes none of that. Let's go to the front door and leave. That's all there is left to any of this." She gave him another look, but followed as Brick marched over to the doors and tried to open them. They wouldn't budge, and he growled to himself. "And the easy way out of here doesn't want to move. I just need to get out of here. Isn't there some sort of window around here so that I can throw myself through?" His words, though, were soft. His words, though soft, did echo about as he stepped to examine his options of this room once again. End of Part 2 of Dark Convent Kingdom. Thank you for listening.